Welcome to this evening's Fireside Chat, folks, and I hope you've had a great evening. A bug just flew into my mouth, it feels like, but that's part of being out here. That's one of the wonderful things about being in the bush. You just don't know what's going to happen, and a bug just flew straight into my mouth, but I'm not sure where it's gone. I may have swallowed it, but anyway, it's a beautiful, beautiful evening here in the Sabi Sands, and so happy to have all of you around the fire with us. Marc will be here shortly, he's just a few minutes away. And just to let you know, the lions are basically over in that direction, not even a quarter of a mile away. So they could well join us a little bit later, and wouldn't that be fun? It wasn't too long ago, in December last year, when there was a fireside chat that was joined by a leopard, and that was a young male leopard called Kunyuma, which was the most bizarre thing we would have ever expected to have filmed or imagined to have happened. Literally right behind the campfire. It was in a different place to where we are here, but literally 40 or 50 meters behind exactly where the presenters were sitting, there was a leopard up a Maruda tree. So that may not happen tonight, but we may have some lion visiting. And another person we'll have visiting, which shouldn't be such a surprise, is Marc, and I can actually hear his vehicle, so it probably won't be too long until you get a visual of him, or you potentially switch over cameras and get his perspective of our campfire chat as he arrives. The birds are going absolutely crazy at the moment. It's mainly drongos that are calling. And hello. Evening Marc, evening Brian. And those are, as I was saying, fork-tailed drongos that are really having their final chorus for this evening, and a great start to our campfire chat. Now, just to let all of you know, the plan roughly for the next half an hour is to initially discuss some of the highlights of the week. Sadly, Brent isn't with us. He's another presenter, for those of you who may be new to the show and this may be your first time. And Brent's on leave, and he was actually in the action for the early part of the week. He had an incredible sighting over a couple of days with the Nkuhuma Pride, the same pride of lion that you've just been watching with Marc and earlier on myself. They managed to kill a medium-sized hippo early in the week, and they fed on it for 2 days, providing great entertainment to Brent and all of you, the viewers. And once they had finished the kill, what happened was quite interesting, quite normal I guess, but the hyenas came in, the vultures came in, so that was also great for you to see along the way. Now, another highlight of the week was a little bit more recently, and that was when the Nkuhuma Pride, the same pride of lion, surprised us. People had tracked them in the morning, couldn't find them. We didn't have any clue of where they were, but people thought they were to the north of Djuma, out of our property. It turns out they were actually in the center. And at around 4 o'clock in the afternoon 2 days ago, thankfully, the Zoomy on the Djuma waterhole camera was focused and found the lions for us, gave us an email update. The final control room here notified me on the radio, and I rushed over in time to see some really, really interesting behavior with the lions. It was beautiful afternoon sunlight, but we'll show you a few clips of that later. Evening, Marcus.
Hello, Scotty.
How you doing?
Good, and you?
Good. Welcome.
Hi, everybody. Thank you.
Good. So, did the lion do anything for you at the end?
Yes, she sat up and she was gazing off into space with that lovely late afternoon light.
Okay, good.
It was great. It was lovely. But of course, I think they're still digesting hippo, so I don't think that they're going anywhere.
Good. And I was just saying it's abnormal that they haven't moved too far in the last 2 days, to a degree, but great, because they're here for us to enjoy.
But I was thinking the same thing, and it came up this morning on drive whether they'd maybe eaten something between then and now, and clearly it's not quite possible, because I think they're still digesting that hippo. And that means that tonight they're likely to move, because I don't think it's going to take them much longer to.
And what are your guesses in terms of which direction they're going to head in?
They were doing loops last night.
Well, exactly. They took you around in circles this morning with the tracks.
Whereabout was that hippo carcass?
At Buffelshoek Dam, exactly to be precise, on the southwestern side of the dam, off Buffelshoek West Road.
Okay, so they've come southwest from there.
Yeah.
Good question.
Well, my guess is that they're going to head back north towards Buffelshoek, so you'll have to tune in the morning to find out. That's when we will all find out, I guess.
Well, I think what we'll be doing is, the first thing we'll do is be looking for tracks. I mean, we'll probably look for tracks on the way in from Manjaleti as well in the morning.
Exactly. And you also managed to find the elephants that you set out to do.
I did. That was wonderful. Just... You know what it's like, tracks between two roads, so you think, well, I'll take this road, and well, anyways, they eventually, I found, it was much like what I had this morning with the lion. I managed to find everywhere that they didn't go, and then of course what was left was maybe the area where they must have gone.
Yeah.
And luckily, just that last afternoon light with a beautiful sunset, there they were.
Good.
A nice big herd too, and it's a herd, I don't recall seeing them before. There's one with a very distinct tear in her ear.
Okay.
Very young one. Yeah.
Good, Mark. Good. Well, I was just letting the viewers know that we are going to play a few inserts, and I think now might not be such a bad time to show you the Nkuhuma Pride as they arrived at Gowrie Dam. It was 2 days ago that they surprised us there, and enjoy what we have to show you. The girls, Tara and Nikki in Final Control, have cut together a few little pieces of the exciting points from an afternoon with the Nkuhuma Pride. Enjoy. Welcome back to the live show, and that was again just an insert. It's something new that we're trying, so let us know your thoughts on the inserts of highlights of the week. There often are so many things that go on that it's just nice to pick one or two things to recap and enjoy things from a different perspective. When everything's happening live, it's actually sometimes hard to take it all in, and it's nice to watch it again and really take in the beauty. I mean, that afternoon sunlight as the lions were drinking, and the interaction between the buffalo and the lion as they chased one another around. I think the buffalo did better than the lion though, and it's often the case, well, it has been the case with the Nkuhuma Pride, but they will get lucky, and their time will come when they manage to outfox the big old buffalo.
Something that I've noticed in the past also, it almost becomes comical, where the lion will chase the buffalo will move off, and then almost like a collective decision amongst the buffalo. Hang on, there's more of us than of them, when I've seen that with breeding herds. And then the buffalo will chase the lion away, and then the lion will gather enough confidence and chase the buffalo, and you get the seesaw effect. I saw a little bit of that clip. I'm also astounded how much lion stuff you've had of late, and it was almost uncanny, because the last time I was on leave, as soon as I left, the Nkuhumas were about, and Brent had a couple of moments. I think one of them was a treehouse, twin dams, and another one was here at quarantine, and another one I think down on Gowrie Dam, early morning light with the mist and that light just coming up and having the Nkuhumas with. So I think it's been really great with the lion of late. So sounds like
they have.
Sounds like they've been missing out on what's going on in Buffelshoek.
Exactly. So yeah, it is always interesting stuff to view the lions and try and read into their behavior and how things change. And one of the things that may be changing, which is certainly worth talking about, is the future of this young male. I don't know what you think, Mark, but all of his inquisitiveness in terms of trying to mate with his mothers and sisters is certainly becoming more and more common, and this may be a sign that his days are numbered with the rest of the pride. I don't know what you think, Mark.
That's interesting. I noticed he did approach one of the lionesses this morning, and she gave him a little bit of a snarl and discouraged him. I'm wondering if it's not just really dominant behavior. He's trying to dominate. He is getting to that age where he's trying to dominate over them. I don't know if he's really trying to mate. Of course, I haven't seen much of it, but I'm wondering if it's them, if it's that are initiating anything, or if he's just trying his luck. In which case, he's going to probably get a paw to the face. Yes, exactly. Unless he's already had that.
Yeah, I've only seen a few snarls so far. I'm wondering what his father's going to think when they see him behaving like that, and I think that might be where we might see a bit of action. And it is common for lion to have to chase their sons out of their prides. It's not something that is seen very often, because it's a very... The chance of seeing that happening is small, obviously, because it may only take one big fight to get rid of a son from his pride. And I've only ever seen it once before, and it was an unbelievable sighting, and it's incredible to see how such caring and loving animals towards one another can instantaneously change. I guess it's not too different to when they're feeding on a kill.
That's true. It's almost hard to believe how that bond that they have, that closeness and the allo grooming and the sharing of emotion can turn to such viciousness when they are on a kill. And I suppose, yes, in terms of ousting a young male, I guess they have to be a little bit harsher too. Funny enough, a question arose, I think it was Shanae in New Zealand, that mentioned whether it was possible that he would join up with the 2 Sticks young males. And I think that's a good possibility, especially because they are somewhat related. I think in the greater scheme of things, they're probably the closest young males to each other than, let's say, a random young male from a different pride in a completely different area that he might come across, having been chased out of this pride and forming a coalition with other males.
Another interesting question, and we'll just touch on it quickly, is that I got once asking whether the Birmingham boys may accept him into their coalition, and I said, well, maybe, but the fact that there's already 5 of them means that they'd be less inclined to potentially invite somebody, whereas 2 might see the benefits of having an extra hand.
I'm not too sure of the age of the young Sticks, but I think they're closer in age to him than the Birminghams. I think the Birminghams are already a little... They must be going on 5 by now, I think.
Okay.
And I don't, my guess that maybe they're a little bit too old for him to join up with. Having said that, we have seen a young male joining up with an older male in Thorny Bush, whether that was extenuating circumstances, being Thorny Bush and being an enclosed, self-contained reserve with very limited resources for lion.
Well, as so often is the case, time will tell, and we can only wait and see what happens. As much as we sit around the fire speculating, only one way to find out, and that is to stay tuned and keep an eye on what these lions get up to. Now, there's one last insert that we would like to show you, and then we're going to start answering some of your questions. So please, if you haven't sent through a question, send through some questions to questions@wildearth.tv or #SafariLive in order to get your questions through. But in the meantime, let's have another little snippet of an interesting sighting of a snake called a boomslang, and the cameraman behind the fire now who's filming this is Wiem, and he's the one who found the snake for us, so we all owe him a big thank you for spotting the snake miraculously up in an acacia tree. Enjoy the clip and we will chat afterwards. So initially when we found the snake, it was staring directly at us. It wasn't quite sure of what we were, and then it continued slithering through the tree, and things it would have been looking for are birds. They like to prey on birds, being arboreal snakes. That's where they find a lot of their prey, as well as chameleons. And Marc and I will have a discussion about boomslangs and chameleons once this clip is over, because the last snake that was seen was actually the last boomslang that was seen was with Marc and Jason, and that was a boomslang eating a chameleon. But it really was beautiful to watch the snake slither through the tree unaffected by our presence. hope you enjoyed that little insert. And I know a lot of people out there don't like snakes, and that's understandable to a degree. They can be quite scary animals, but what you need to remember is that unless a lot of them are actually confronted or confined in an enclosed space, they'll often slither away from you without wanting to bite you or affect you. And this snake is no different. It's not a very aggressive snake. And Mark, you can probably tell us a little about the venom and that prey that you saw it feeding on with Jason a few months back.
That was quite amazing. Unfortunately, it was quite deep in the little worry bush, if I can remember correctly. The worm slung is considered a back fang snake, and it doesn't mean that the fangs are right at the back. It just means that they're much smaller fangs to, say, one of the front fang cobras or puff adders. The fangs are just set a little bit further back, and they're very, very small. But the venom of the worm slung is a hemotoxic venom, which means that it destroys the blood cells, and so there's internal hemorrhaging, and it is very, very dangerous. But being a hemotoxin, it's something that's very slow acting, as opposed to the neurotoxin, the nerve destroying venom of say something like a black mamba, which affects the nervous system instantly. But the worm slung is also, as you said, in terms of aggression or temperament rather, the worm slung is a very, very mild and very, very calm snake. It takes a lot to get a worm slung aggressive. I've known worm slungs to live around houses. I've got a worm slung that lives around my house that I see quite frequently. I'm never worried about it. I know that it's never going to come inside, not like a cobra or a mamba that's likely to come in looking for rodents. Speaking of mambas, we saw a mamba this afternoon. Fantastic big mamba. And just as we, it was on the road, just off the road. It was a kind of a mind twister, because it was sitting in a way that it tapered on one side and it tapered on the other, and the middle of it was behind a tuft of grass. And I thought it was two tails, and that the two heads were behind this tuft of grass. And I turned around to see if Brian was already on his way there with the camera. And the mamba sort of must have sensed our movement, and it pulled back. Maybe it was behind a tuft, or its head was in a hole. And then we know it was just one snake. It was one really long mamba.
Jeez. And
it pulled back. And now this for a snake that is ordinarily aggressive, and let's face it was confronted by a fairly large Land Rover all of a sudden. It didn't even raise its head. It didn't even raise its... mamba is an elapid, so it's family of the cobra. It doesn't spread a hood wide like a cobra does, but it does flatten its neck sort of more in a lengthy way, or rather dorsoventral way. Didn't do that, just pulled back and turned around, and it was so quick. It was liquid. It was liquid.
Cool. Well, it's been months since we've seen a mamba, so I'm glad you got to see one, and hopefully we'll be able to get one on camera for all of you. It's been one snake that we've got a few glimpses on early on in December and January. Actually, in these clearings around us, I had 2 or 3 glimpses of mambas, possibly the same one, but since then until today, it's been a bit of a mamba drought. While you were gone though, Mark, we found a huge African rock python.
I heard about it.
Which was so
Will was
awesome.
Telling me this morning.
Yeah, it was really cool. The
that
biggest
you actually went back there a couple of times and was still there.
We didn't. We covered it up in grass as we kind of found it. Some Inyala actually alerted us to it. We were driving past and there was 6 Inyala staring into the grass, and we were like, hang on, what are these Inyala found for us? So we got out kind of suspecting that there would be a snake there, but not knowing what kind of snake or how big it would be. And sure enough, there was probably, it was coiled up and we didn't disturb it, so we don't know how long it was, but judging by its girth, which was probably that much at the thickest, it was probably around 3 meters in length. So that was good fun.
Yeah. I haven't seen a python for quite some time now. I think the last python I saw here on Juma was a one-eyed python on Cheetah Cutline.
Okay.
Something had damaged its one eye, and it was a fair-sized python. We watched it out on the road. That must have been 2010 or 2011. I'm sure there might be some viewers out there that remember it. Awesome. But sadly, none of those really big pythons around anymore. All that I've seen. Normally, you'd see their tracks that are quite wide.
Yeah.
And slewed skin. I've got some python skin at home that is, sure, it's huge. That was the kind of python that would have swallowed an impala.
Okay, well, all the highlights clips have been of me so far and things that I've seen, and that's partly because Brent's away on leave, and also partly because Marc has only just arrived quite shortly, just a few days ago. Yesterday, Marc only arrived.
Yes.
But he also has some...
It seems like a few days,
Yeah.
but it's only one.
But he does have some highlights, a little inset from this afternoon. So enjoy the little clip that the girls in Final Control have put together.
Well, kudos to them to put it together on such short notice too. And it was wonderful arriving, finally finding those ellies in this little one that was ears out, and I think you've both experienced something similar with the little one that's been bouncing at the vehicle. This one was a young female that was spreading her ears and showing us a little bit of interest.
And I believe it was a beautiful, beautiful sunset, which I'm certainly looking forward to seeing the footage of that.
Oh, it was. Just after we saw that calf, where there was another big female, very, very large female, came across the road with her calf, which was a little boy, and he gave us a little bit of a mock charge type of thing. And then she sort of turned away from us and started heading away, and you could see, I mean, it looked like she was very, very, very pregnant, very round at least. And, well, it was irresistible. And one of the viewers told me that there'd been more than just those four. It was 5 that we'd seen. It was 2 females and 3 calves. And evidently there'd been a lot more of them at the dam, and I figured that they must have been at the back of the herd, so we drove around to the eastern side just to have a look at the sunset, and spread out in a long line next to us were 3 or 4 other family groups, so we had found ourselves in the middle of a lovely group of ellies.
Awesome. There have actually been quite a lot of ellies around since Marc's been gone, so I hope they stick around while he's here, because he is obsessed with elephants, and as we all are, but Marc's got a certain affinity to them and a certain way with them, so I hope the herds keep coming in, and also I hope that some of the bulls stay here, because the bulls we don't see very often, and when they are in the area it's really, really exciting. So hoping that there are some more big old bulls. There was one with a very distinctive long tusk and a short broken tusk that covered Brent and Brian in dust one afternoon. And what was that?
Impala. He's on his way rutting. I really thought that maybe those lion would do something when those impala rams were running around.
Oh no, I mean at one stage they ran past quite close and they got up and looked at them but didn't commit to the hunt. Well folks, those are just male impala running around chasing one another. It is the rutting season, so if you can hear some strange gurgling noises, that's exactly what it is. So don't be alarmed. It was important for us just to shine around and make sure. At one stage I just heard hooves rumbling through the turf, so that was a pleasant surprise that it wasn't anything bigger or more dangerous coming towards us.
Sitting here bathed in light on the top of a ridge.
Exactly. Prime targets.
Primate targets too. We are just seen as primates sitting around in bright light, and we could be. Especially with the lights, it's like we're sitting in this bowl of light and there's no world beyond us. Hard to see. And it's probably just gone on full moon, or rather new moon. In fact, I think it could even be tonight. I didn't see the first sliver, but it's possible that tonight is new moon. Yesterday or tonight, so we might see the first sliver, but that means it's going to be dark with just starlight.
Well, we've got a question through from Evelyn, and thanks for asking this question, Evelyn, and it's good to clear things up. I didn't mention very clearly, none of us got to see the hippo actually catching the lion, Brent was the first person on the scene, and I think it was Monday morning that happened.
The hippo catching the lion.
The hippo catching the lion. By that, I mean the lion catching the hippo. Sometimes it's the other way around. And
sorry, I couldn't resist that one.
Thank you. But the lion probably caught that hippo at around 4 or 5 in the morning, and I'm not sure exactly when. It's hard to tell, but when Brent did arrive, it did look like they had only started feeding on it fairly recently. So nobody saw the action. It probably happened in the early hours of the morning. And lion often do hunt at night, and sadly we are not out then, and we often miss a lot of their hunting. But who knows? Hopefully some of the WildEarth projects going forward will focus completely on following lions around after dark, and the way technology is going, anything's possible. So exciting times lie ahead, and I certainly would like to spend more time watching lions hunting. I've been doing this job for quite a long time now, and you don't see kills as often as you want, and it's not the actual bloodlust that I want to see, but the art of hunting and the skill involved in hunting, and not only involved in hunting, but involved in the prey, evading their prey, which happens the majority of the time. Mark?
Yeah, I think that it's necessary. Nature needs to make sure that more hunts are unsuccessful than successful. I think that's why we often see the hunt begin and then nothing comes of it. Animals that would be successful every time they went hunting would just wouldn't really work. There would be no dynamics involved in terms of survival, in terms of evading prey, evading the predators, and building up strength and building up abilities to evade. As well as for the predators, it would just be too easy for them. So nature gives them different energy levels, and they just have certain cut-off points where if they don't get their prey after a certain amount of time, they have to give up. They have to save energy for the next hunt, and in that way they can hone their skills, and it can even out the score a little bit. It can sort of even the playing field.
100%. 100%. Well, there's one last quick question for Mark, and apologies, we haven't answered many questions tonight. It's a bit of a new format, and it's a lot shorter than we used to, so sorry we didn't answer as many questions. We'll try and get some more next time. But there's a question from Donna for Mark, and she's just interested to know about our accommodation and who's staying at the Manyaleti, and what the deal is there. Is there not enough room for all of us here at Djuma?
Oh, hi, Donna. Yes, at the moment we were before May up until April, when we came back from Manyaleti, we'd been kindly been staying here at Djuma, and it was a camp that was already booked for training purposes, so we had to find alternatives. And the other accommodation is Inga's house. Inga is Yuri's sister, Yuri, the owner of Djuma, which only has 3 rooms, so it's a very limited accommodation here at Djuma, and the rest of us are staying up at Manyaleti. So for VM and Brian and myself, we need to be heading back to Manyaleti shortly after FireSide Chat. We have a curfew, we need to be in the gate there. You see, if we're late, we set in motion a whole range of anti-poaching mechanisms that are utilizing resources that we don't need to. So one of the reasons that we need to obey the rules. Of course, the other thing is that we are given a lot of leeway in that we're working in the Sabi sand and we're sleeping over in Manyaleti. Normally there would be no ability to traverse from one to the other, so we do have very special permission as far as that is concerned. So we can't abuse the kindness that's shown us, and well, it gives the 3 of us an extra half-hour game drive each day. Nice night drive home and a nice night drive back into work in the morning.
Exactly, a bit chilly at this time of the year, but we've got blankets and hot water bottles for the crew, so everyone's as comfortable as they can be, and it is certainly a crisp start to the morning.
Yeah, but it's nice. It gets my mind into bush gear rather than jumping straight on to the vehicle after getting out of bed.
Good.
But yes, it's going to be chilly.
Well, folks, it's just about time to wrap things up, and it's been a wonderful week here at Djuma and Arathusa in the Sabi Sands. It's great to have Marc back with us.
Good to
and I hope Brent's having a good leave, so don't worry about him. He's just enjoying some time off. And the show will go on. There'll be both of us out tomorrow morning, first thing, and look forward to following you. Follow us.
Bye, everyone. Love you.
Cheers, everyone. Thanks, VM. Thanks, Nikki and Tara in Final Control. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.